Of positive and uplifting news. My name is Pule Mulebati. Today we shine a spotlight on gender-based violence, particularly violence against women. Our featured guest today uses art as a medium to bring much needed attention to the injustices that women face. At her recent exhibition, she showcased provocative artworks that she holds close to her heart. This is the story of Gabrielle Goliath, and this report is brought to you by our producer, Nombuso Mahlangu.
Art is an instrument of communication of ideas in various forms. Some use it as an instrument of healing and some to continue a great legacy. Gabrielle Goliath is a multidisciplinary artist. She tells a story of how art allowed her to heal and shape a better society for both women and queer women. Growing up in Kimberley, she takes us back.
I grew up in Kimberley in the Northern Cape, and my childhood was lovely and special and so different to the current generation. Pre-technology, I recall playing in the garden and befriending insects and all sorts of things like that, and riding around in the neighborhood with the local gang on my bicycle, and it was fantastic. Left Kimberley when I was 10 years old and moved to Johannesburg with my mother, and that was quite a significant move because that was when my mother and father separated, and of course that's a big rupture in the family. And so then my brother and I moved to Johannesburg with my mom, and that's quite a significant move.
Her detriment was a seed to her future.
As so many places in the world, not just, I'm very careful to locate this kind of violence doesn't only play out within our continent or within our country, but sadly it is very prevalent within South Africa, this nature of violence, domestic violence. And yes, I lost a friend, and this is quite a significant incident because it's left a lasting impression on me and is a strong guiding force in terms of how I approach and make my work. So when I was in primary school on Christmas Eve in the year of 1991, I lost a friend to domestic violence. And given the nature of that violence, it was an incident that happened within the walls of the four walls of the home. And it's an undisclosed kind of violence. And her name was Berenice. That's obviously important. And many, many years later, as an artist, practicing as an artist and making art, I spoke to my mother and I said, I would like to make a work that remembers and commemorates Berenice in some way. And my mother is the one who's a significant and key character in my life. She was the one who alerted me to the fact that if you are going to approach this, you have to realize that these are real people and with real lives, real voices, and this is very delicate, sensitive subject matter. And I think you need to try and get in touch with Berenice's mother and speak to her about what you want to do. And from then on, I have continued to be led by this way of thinking and making, to always keep the subject at the fore and at the center of what I do, to be ethical in what I do, and to be very responsible towards the subject within your work. And so Berenice and the making of that work is still very important and very key to me, because it informs so much of what I do and continue to do now.
Her first love was fashion, although her destiny was something totally different.
I actually studied fashion design at Wits Technikon, the old Wits Technikon on Elof Street in Johannesburg. And it was quite a natural progression from then on, because my clothing became increasingly more conceptual and sculptural and unwearable and not practical at all. And so the move from fashion to art felt quite natural, because contemporary art is such a wonderful medium in that you can turn to concepts and notions and ideas where they don't always have to be practical and wearable.
Art was long embedded in her family. She might have not seen it earlier, but she did find her path to art.
I come from an incredibly creative family, and they're all very creative in very different ways. My mother is creative, and she denies it. She denies that she has any artistic or creative talent, but she's creative in her being and her person and with words and writing. And she's a ferocious reader. And then my father, my late father, also incredibly talented. He was a musician, a drummer, and he painted and drew, and he was creative. And then my two brothers, and I think that's why I came to art so late in life, because they are extraordinarily gifted within the creative field. And I think it was always assumed that they would end up being Gabrielle Goliath, a musician, and an extraordinary musician, and Jean-Paul Goliath, an extraordinary artist and illustrator and graphic designer. And so it wasn't my domain or my field. I didn't do art. I didn't do art at school.
Gabrielle then began her journey of relaying stories of the hurt and healed survivors of gender-based violence.
Oh, hi. As you can see, I'm trying to get the most out of my day. Trying to get this workout in and film this infomercial. And I'm sure you're trying to get the most out of life too. So, what's stopping you? What? Money? Money shouldn't stop you from going on holiday, paying emergency car repairs, or buying that gym equipment that you've always wanted. Get it sorted with a Ubank personal loan of up to 100,000 Rand with flexible repayment terms of up to 60 months. So you can focus on dreaming big and reaching your goals, and Ubank can help you sort out your finances. Get it sorted with a Ubank loan. I've reached my calorie count and finished filming this infomercial. Hashtag get it sorted. Ubank, growing with you.
Welcome back to Stories Untold, and thank you for staying with us. This week we look at how art is used as a medium to empower women by giving them a voice. Gabrielle Goliath is at the forefront of this movement, and she is not apologetic about her work as a women's rights activist.
Gabrielle came across art after she had tried her hand in fashion. Her focus on gender-based violence is a result of a seed that was planted when she lost her friend to domestic abuse. She takes us through her challenges.
Living in South Africa, my lived experience, observing the experiences of others, as a brown woman in this country, experiencing certain levels of violence. Violence isn't only physical, of course. But yes, we do, unfortunately and sadly and heartbreakingly, have devastating levels of violence playing out within our country on a daily basis. It affects so many people. And so I feel personally very compelled to turn to art as a means of engaging and grappling with this very difficult subject matter. And I feel very blessed to be able to do so, because I feel that sometimes these issues are so difficult to talk about and to engage with. And art allows us a different kind of way of doing so. It was so tough getting into the art department at Wits, at the Wits University, because I didn't have a regular matric exemption, because I didn't go to a regular high school. And I was asked to do I think it's called an aptitude test or bridging exam or whatever it is. And when I got the results, it had said that I'd failed and they weren't going to allow me into the university. And my mother saw this and she was convinced that they'd got something wrong and that this couldn't be the case. And after some further investigation and the assistance of David Andrew, who is still the head of the department there, they discovered that they'd got my results all wrong. And that's how I got admitted into WITS. So it was this constant, which I think for those of you out there who want to do art, be encouraged. Sometimes it takes hard work. And that's how I eventually got into WITS University and started to study. And I'm still studying. I'm doing my PhD now through Jay Pather's remarkable institute.
Provocative, direct, and uncensored evenly describes Gabrielle's body of work.
In these conversations, they shared with me these songs that are of a special significance to them. And it's not always as simple as, oh, it's to do with the massive rupture of the rape, or it's sometimes that, or it's sometimes completely unrelated. So they shared these songs with me, and in close collaboration with these extraordinary musicians that I've collaborated with, woman-led and genderqueer-led musical ensembles, we have reperformed these songs. And so to create this experience of the exhibition when you encounter it, as you did last night, it's a totally immersive and experiential experience. It's not really images on a wall as such, it's sound, it's color, and really it's about using music to recall something of what these individuals go through.
In this instance, we see a rape survivor sharing her story where words were extracted out, only emotions left to describe her trauma.
That is a body of work called Personal Accounts, which is actually a video installation. And it's quite a hard one, but also very moving and touching. It's a 5-channel video installation. And it really, what it does is it depicts 5 individuals who, really what they do is they share their experiences of gender-based violence, and in some instances their experiences of rape. But when you actually watch the video, you don't hear these words, you don't hear them speaking these words. I extract the words out of the dialogue. So I effectively am the one doing a kind of sensorial form of editorial violence to the video. I remove their words from the videos. So when you watch these videos, the final result is silence.
Her latest body of work is named This Song Is For.
This Song Is For is a work, I'll backtrack a bit, with all of my works, being so mindful of how easy it is within the arts to perpetuate violence, to re-victimize within representation. I'm very mindful of that. And so with each work that I do, I am, by choice, for me it's a social and political choice, I do not put a lot of work out there. So I choose rather to spend a long time on each body of work, researching the work, so up to some years, researching and building up to the work, speaking to others, gaining their insights. And then when I actually see out the work, that too takes time, and the work itself is quite durational too and may span over some years. So This Song Is For, as so many of my other works, is like that. This Song Is For is a body of work that I've been researching for many years.
While many of the survivors are sensitive and maintain only sharing their experiences at the exhibition walls, Nondumiso Msimang shared her backstory on how she became one of the contributors.
Sitting, 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 sitting and being gently overwhelmed that yes, I am still mourning this person.
Gabrielle's work may push all boundaries and break all prejudice walls. All her contributors have been through a path that seemed inexorable.
2 of the collaborators are individuals that I actually met whilst in Sao Paulo, staging a completely different work there, a performance work of mine called Elegy. And after they'd experienced this work, they came and spoke to me and disclosed their experiences to me. And we developed and sustained a relationship after that. The other individuals I actually met through an organization called Tears. And they, through great warmth and generosity, but also I think it's the most responsible way of doing it, were able to facilitate a conversation between me and potential collaborators who they would then identify as being in a safe enough space to start to engage about their experiences as survivors and be open to speaking to me about it and potentially collaborating on this work.
Displaying pain, trauma, and other anguish, Gabrielle's work solely focuses on awareness about women and queer women. They may wear a smile on their face every day, but that doesn't take away their violation.
Oh, hi. As you can see, I'm trying to get the most out of my day. Trying to get this workout in and film this infomercial. And I'm sure you're trying to get the most out of life too. So, what's stopping you? What? Money? Money shouldn't stop you from going on holiday, paying emergency car repairs, or buying that gym equipment that you've always wanted. Get it sorted with a Ubank personal loan of up to 100,000 Rand with flexible repayment terms of up to 60 months. So you can focus on dreaming big and reaching your goals, and Ubank can help you sort out your finances. Get it sorted with a Ubank loan. I've reached my calorie count and finished filming this infomercial. Hashtag get it sorted. Ubank, growing with you.
I wish we'd have more conversations about the lived reality of those who identify as women more than once a month, a year. Are we having conversations about the systemic approaches of the challenges they face through a gender dimension? Here I'm talking about health, education, career and life skills development, whether it's about financial security. Let's make Women's Month 365 days a year.
SABC News celebrates Women's Month.
Welcome back. This is the last and final leg of Stories Untold. Remember, you can get in touch with us on social media using the hashtag Stories Untold SABC. In this segment, we bring the message closer to home as the Stories Untold came together and put a message of support for survivors of gender-based violence. But before we get there, here is Gabrielle Goliath's future plans.
My name is Gabrielle Goliath, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I'm the Standard Bank Young Artist for 2019, and my current body of work is entitled This Song Is For.
She intentionally puts out work only once a year. Her mandate is clear: to call out the rape culture so loud that the perpetrators start to feel the shame from their despicable actions. Her work and compassion thereof has been exhibited widely.
One of the most recent ones was for this particular work called This Song Is For, which is extraordinary. It first exhibited in Kiev in Ukraine at the Pinchuk Art Center. At the Future Generation Art Prize, and there it won a special prize, which was extraordinary. And that's where I think it's so amazing, because so often people do say that. They say, oh, what about if you take a work like this outside of South Africa? Can people relate to it? I had so many people coming up to me there in Kiev, thanking me for this work and saying, this work means so much to me. And you realize that this is the thing. This nature of violence plays out throughout the world, but in different ways, of course. And it's really a conversation we all need to start talking about much more openly. So that was an amazing, amazing, humbling experience to receive an award like that for this particular body of work. in Kiev. And of course, the Standard Bank Award is incredible. I mean, them happening concurrently is so extraordinary as well. It's really, what is extraordinary about it is the prize is really a touring exhibition.
Although Gabrielle is intending to stop and heal gender violence in South Africa, she was pleasantly surprised to see more women relating to her work, even abroad.
I'm very excited to be joining the WITS department next year, so I'll be lecturing there. I'm daunted as well, but I'm excited too. And I am very excited to be moving into my new studio space, and which is not only going to be my studio. I've always been very anti-studio, artist studio, because I've always felt like it can be quite an egotistical idea to have Studio Goliath, which it's not actually. I mean, sometimes artists do need studios. But this studio is going to be my studio, but it's also going to be another space which is called Femme of Color, which is really a space which I feel is going to be so important. There's a lack of spaces like this that support Black, brown, feminine and queer artists.
Gabrielle's passion for people is leading her to many stories of liberation.
I'd like for my story to be told by contributing, I suppose. I mean, for instance, I think Femme of Color, for instance, is going to be an important space. So I don't think it's always about my story. I think it's more about creating spaces for communities and gatherings, and it's more about we and us and not me. So I think so. I think I'd like my story to be told through others.
With such outstanding work and compelling narratives, the Stories Untold team joined in on Gabrielle's movement to stop gender-based violence. They briefly shared their notions.
In order to say no more to gender-based violence, we need to go back and educate our children. We need to raise awareness. We need to re-educate a boy child. Teach them that it's okay to cry as a boy child. It doesn't make you weak. You need to educate children and say women are not inferior to men. So we need to dispel the myth of a macho man. Teach children that women and men are both equal.
I believe that it is better to groom a young boy to become a good man than to fix a broken man.
As a woman, and not just as a woman in media, but as a woman in society, I've come to learn that it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength for a woman to speak up. So I applaud all those women, the strong women, who've come forward to name and shame their abusers, because sexual aggression is very damaging, and the last thing an abused person needs is to be blamed for their abuser's actions.
There's a famous quote by our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, where he says that gender-based violence is not caused by a virus. One does not wake up one day, find themselves infected with the urge to attack someone else who abused them, a woman in particular. He reminds us that the causes of gender-based violence are societal and cultural. Society teaches and allows boys and men to be violent. Some of our cultures perpetuate toxic masculine behavior. Therefore, it's not surprising that 99% of all rape cases that happen in South Africa are committed by men. Only 1% of rape cases involve a female culprit. Now that should tell you something. Good men are beginning to talk against this scourge. But most importantly, they're beginning to do something about it. You too can join them by being a part of organizations such as Brothers for Life or Sonke Gender Justice. And let's stop the talk against gender-based violence, and let's start with the action.
Violence against women is perhaps the most shameful human rights violation and perhaps the most pervasive. Well, this is an unfinished quote by Kofi Annan. I'm a woman and I've been scarred and shamed by gender-based violence. And I think it's time we stop sharing these experiences, or we stop saying we too have been violated, because our men
need to grow up and understand that they're not stronger or more superior than us.
Celebrating Women's Month, we should no longer be sharing stories of our scars, but stories of a strong and free nation. With artists like Gabriel, our society is definitely heading there, and we are definitely happy to be women.
There is no better way to end the show than with that very powerful message. From myself and the rest of Stories Untold team, would like to wish every woman a happy Women's Month. Until next week, it's a goodbye from us here on the show.
Standoff between Alexandra residents and police. Following a forced eviction, officers retaliated by firing rubber bullets.
They just shoot at us. They don't even want to listen to us.
They've done us wrong as a community.
What created the situation? What led to these angry words being exchanged?
You're forcing me to say I have doubt. What is that thing? Don't treat me like a small boy. Don't do that. Because Human Rights Commission is not God.
Vuzimusi Dlamini, he's the senior investigator there, and he asked the question, can you just explain what this particular project did? Because of course there were a lot of money in that particular project, but it looks like little has been delivered.
Mining is still a male-dominated sector, but there have been positive steps to integrate women into the industry. And mining companies are slowly turning the tide, allowing more women like 43-year-old Caroline Majola to face the challenges of this harsh working environment head-on. Working underground as a woman is very difficult. I went underground at 6 a.m. and I'm only knocking off now. I haven't even bathed because the water is cold. Women in mining, under the umbrella of Siyabangena Women in Mining, say while the playing field is slowly being leveled to accommodate more women, many battle to achieve equity with their male colleagues.
There is still a gap of being a woman and being a man in terms of salaries, whereby they always have this belief that you as a woman, you cannot make it the way the men they do. So we as a woman, we have to tell ourselves that we must make sure that when we are underground, we have to work hard. We don't have to use ourselves so that these men, they can use us, so that they can get something from us.
Meanwhile, the biggest mining operation in the Rustenburg Platinum Belt, Sibanye Still Waters, says it is committed to increasing the representation of women in its workforce.
Women have been working underground. Yes, there could be challenges in some areas, and as a company, we've got policies and systems and support programs that assist women who've chosen an underground as an environment, as a career, for them to be able to thrive.
The South African Minerals Act of 1991 legally prohibited women from working underground at the mines. They were only permitted to work on the surface. Now, women are allowed to work in underground mines. However, the deployment of women has been subjected to certain rules, which include providing adequate facilities and safety for them.